I never thought I'd be back on Wall Street after all these years, not since I left the trading floor under such strange circumstances. The night I'm about to recount began as an ordinary late shift at the old brokerage firm, just me and the janitor in the quiet, cavernous office. But that was the night I realized that some of Wall Street's ghosts don't rest when the market closes. When the elevator chimed and the doors opened to reveal an empty floor, a chill crept over me. The clocks were stopped at exactly 11:34 p.m., a detail that struck me as eerie. I glanced down the long, dark hallway. Shadows seemed thicker there, hanging like a fog over the rows of empty desks. But I pushed aside the unease. Little did I know that night I'd be getting a visitor I'd never forget. As I walked through the aisles, I heard faint tapping like someone typing furiously on a keyboard. My heart raced, but I convinced myself it was just an echo, something logical. Suddenly, a flash of movement appeared at the corner of my eye. Turning quickly, I saw a silhouette standing near the trading screens, a tall, thin figure shrouded in shadows. I called out, but my voice echoed hollowly through the empty room. The figure didn't move. It just stood there, silently, as if watching me. I took a cautious step forward. The figure flickered like a bad TV signal before vanishing. I rubbed my eyes, trying to convince myself it was just a trick of the light. Heading to my desk, I found an old dusty ledger lying open. The handwriting was faded, but it clearly spelled out names and dates that hadn't come yet. I blinked, realizing one of the names was mine, listed under a date only a week from now. My hands trembled as I shut the ledger, trying to make sense of it all. Just then the phone rang, jolting me. I hesitated before picking up the receiver, which felt cold and heavy in my hand. A voice whispered, "You're in the wrong place," before the line went dead. It sounded old, raspy, like it had been recorded years ago. Panic set in, but I couldn't leave. Some force seemed to glue my feet to the floor, keeping me in the empty office. The room grew darker, the lights flickering in and out. Each time they blinked, I could swear I saw faces staring back from the glass walls. Out of nowhere, the screens on the trading floor lit up, showing frantic numbers that made no sense, ticking down as if counting to something. I tried to look away, but the numbers hypnotized me, flashing faster and faster. They stopped suddenly at 0011, then blinked off, leaving only silence. A gust of cold air swept through, carrying the faint smell of smoke, like from an old fire. The silence was so thick, I could almost feel it pressing down on me. I decided to leave, but as I reached for the elevator button, the lights blinked out entirely. I was trapped in pitch-black silence. My phone buzzed. It was a text message, no sender, just the words, "Don't look back." My pulse thundered as I clutched the phone, frozen in fear. Against every instinct, I turned around, and there it was, the shadow figure, closer now, its face contorted in a grotesque expression, staring directly into my eyes. As the lights flickered back on, the figure disappeared, leaving only the eerie silence of the office. I stumbled out, heart pounding, vowing never to return. But Wall Street had marked me in ways I couldn't escape. To this day, I still get midnight calls from unknown numbers. Sometimes I think I hear that whisper, "You're in the wrong place." It's as if Wall Street's shadows are calling me back, waiting, watching, never quite letting me go. It was supposed to be a simple night shift. The markets were closed and the trading floor was empty. As a new security guard on Wall Street, I didn't expect much action, maybe a few stragglers working late. But that night, I discovered that Wall Street holds more than just secrets of wealth and power. As I made my first round, a soft glow caught my eye at an empty trading desk. A monitor flickered to life, its green numbers rolling like the stock tickers of an era long gone. I approached cautiously, feeling an unease settle over me. It was almost as if the screens were pulling me closer, into a part of Wall Street no one talks about. The flickering screen displayed stock symbols I didn't recognize, with dates from decades ago. A chill ran down my spine as the numbers continued to scroll, seemingly at random. I leaned in, trying to understand, when I felt a cold draft sweep across my neck. It was strange, as no windows were open in the building. Just then I noticed a faint reflection on the screen, someone standing behind me. I spun around, but there was no one there, just rows of empty desks. Telling myself it was my imagination, I continued my round. But as I walked, footsteps echoed behind me, matching my pace. I stopped abruptly, and so did the footsteps. Silence filled the room, but an unsettling tension lingered. I wasn't alone. Near the back of the room, an ancient stock ticker machine whirred to life. Its paper strip unrolled, revealing cryptic numbers and names long faded from memory. A name stood out. J. Elmore. I recalled an old rumor about a broker by that name who vanished in the 1920s, rumored to have lost everything in a scandal. As I examined the ticker, a chill intensified. I could feel a presence looming nearby, like someone watching over my shoulder. My flashlight flickered, and in the dim light, I saw a shadow moving along the wall. It had the shape of a man in a suit, hat tilted low. A low, raspy whisper filled the air. "They took everything." My pulse raced, and I backed away, my eyes locked on the flickering shadow. The room seemed to darken, and the lights above buzzed. Shadows stretched, forming shapes that looked disturbingly human, all focused on me. Then, the monitors turned on one by one, displaying red numbers, plunging downwards as if stocks were crashing in real time. The intensity of the light pulled me in, making it hard to look away. A strange pressure built in the air, thick with despair and anger. My phone buzzed. A single message. "Find the ledger." I didn't recognize the number, but I felt compelled to obey. I searched until I found an old dust-covered book tucked behind a desk. The pages were filled with names, dates, and large red X marks. My own name was at the bottom of the list, circled in red. I gasped, and the lights went out, leaving me in darkness with that whisper again. "You're next." In a panic, I stumbled out of the office, my heart pounding, but the silence of the empty trading floor followed me. Every night since, I've dreamt of Wall Street's ghosts and felt a shadow lurking just behind me. Now, even during the day, I hear whispers echoing in my ear, foretelling my own fate. They say no one truly leaves Wall Street untouched, and I fear I'll be another name on that cursed ledger before long. I took the late shift at a historic Wall Street building, lured by the promise of quiet hours and easy work. The place was always dead after midnight, save for the occasional trader burning the candle at both ends. But one night, I heard something strange, a ringing like an old-fashioned bell echoing through the empty corridors. Curious, I followed the sound down to the basement where the building's original trading bell was encased in glass, silent for decades. But that night it swung back and forth, ringing loud enough to shake the walls. No one was there, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was calling me or perhaps warning me. I hesitated, but the ringing grew louder, reverberating through my bones. I had to find the source, even if every instinct told me to turn back. As I reached the end of the hall, the ringing abruptly stopped. Silence fell, heavy and unnerving, pressing down like a weight on my chest. I glanced around, heart pounding, and noticed the faint scent of cigar smoke. Strange, since smoking had been banned here for years. Suddenly, footsteps echoed from the other end of the hall, slow and deliberate. They grew louder, approaching with an almost menacing rhythm. I stepped back, trying to catch a glimpse of who or what was coming. But all I saw was a shadow stretching toward me, dark and tall. My flashlight flickered, and the outline of a man appeared. He wore an old-fashioned suit, his face obscured by shadows. My throat tightened. "You don't belong here," he muttered, voice raspy and hollow. His figure flickered like an image from an old film reel, phasing in and out. As he spoke, the bell started ringing again, louder and faster, each chime rattling through my body as if driving something deep inside me. I turned to run, but the basement corridor seemed endless. My footsteps echoed strangely, as though swallowed up by the walls themselves. Just then, an ancient stock ticker in the corner whirred to life, spitting out a strip of paper covered in numbers I couldn't understand. I read it, noticing the number 1929, the year of the market crash. The paper slipped from my fingers, but the ticker kept churning, as if in a frenzy. Lights began to flicker, casting eerie shadows. I caught glimpses of men and women dressed in old-fashioned clothes, their faces pale, eyes hollow. They crowded around me, whispers filling the air. "Save us. Bring it back." Their hands reached out, icy cold, brushing against my arms. I forced myself to look away, but the shadows seemed to close in, like walls trapping me in their desperate energy. My phone buzzed with a message. "Midnight bell. Leave now." Shaking, I checked the time. 11:59. I only had a minute left to escape. I sprinted up the stairs, the bell tolling one last time as I burst into the empty lobby, gasping for air, free from whatever haunted that basement. Even now I still hear that bell some nights, chiming faintly in my dreams. Sometimes I wake up at exactly midnight, the sound echoing in my ears, warning me again and again. I quit the job, but a part of me wonders if the bell will ever stop ringing for me. I'll never forget the message from that night. It's as if Wall Street itself holds on to the souls it's taken, waiting for another to answer its midnight call.